Social Security is on track to be insolvent within 10 years. Okay. So, in practical terms, that means unless something changes, like raising the retirement age or doing something, benefits will automatically be cut, banning our money supply because the Fed has been restricted. I'm going to explain that. Credit card loans, car loans, those are short-term borrowing rates, and they are low right now. Microsoft and Google came out and said, we're not going to reduce our billions of dollars of spending. Existing home sales, 4 million home sales annual rate. That's with a little drop. Hey, it's KP coming to you live from Corona, California. Well, happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there, whether in wartime or peace. And of course, Semper Fi to all the Marines. Semper Fi? I don't know. It depends on whether you're from Texas or not. But 250th birthday, 250th anniversary of the Marines, literally older than our nation, when 2 Marine battalions were formed in 1775. But Armistice Day, the end of World War I, the first great world war, where millions were killed, on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, the treaty was made, and it has been adopted as a national holiday for us. And I'm seeing some fantastic emails, whether from Carrington or Freedom, of course, U.S. Navy Federal Credit Union, and my good friend Chris Griffith over there, a veteran himself, founder of Vetted VA. So many great companies that have put in the work, both on the battlefield and, of course, here at home, to be honored on a day like Veterans Day. And so, yeah, thank a veteran when you see them tomorrow for sure, and every day for that matter. There's a reason why when I talk about the 7 Ds, I always say deployment first, because you got to put them first. All of our military service men and women. Okay, so lots going on. The government may not be shut down anymore. Elon Musk gets $1 trillion package. What's going on with rates? Lots of data. If the government shuts down, it usually takes 1 to 2 weeks to start getting some reports coming out with official data. I think that's cool. And so we'll start to play catch up on some stale data, see how that impacts the Fed decision in December. And it's a 50-year mortgage. But before I get into all that, let's talk about Mamdani, the new New York City mayor, which I will be in New York Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the IMN MSR conference. Got a panel on Thursday, so I'll be down kind of near Times Square. Hot take here, but politicians say whatever it takes to get elected. That's on both parties. So I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt and see what happens when he's in office, because I think that's really what matters. So not going to criticize that. Sam Altman has gotten a lot of criticism from, pledging $1.4 trillion that they don't have at OpenAI, creator of ChatGPT. But maybe they stitched that thing all together. There was a lot of data deals and energy deals, which, them and NVIDIA are like these hubs right in the center of the AI universe here in America. And we'll see how that all shakes out. He was subpoenaed in San Francisco on stage. Someone literally served him in the middle of a fireside chat with Steve Kerr, Warriors coach, and another gentleman. So thought that was some interesting hot takes. So before I get into the 50-year mortgage, I know everyone's saying the same thing, the interest and the debt. I get it. Like, we all know the same math, okay? So I'm going to try and bring up some other points that maybe you haven't heard. But first, my favorite memes I saw today. If you don't watch Trust Fund Terry or follow that on Instagram. Thank you, Mr. Trump, for $2,000 and an extra 20 years to pay off my mortgage. I will not let you down. I will use this to trade derivatives. Feudalism. It's called feudalism, but worse, because the bank doesn't have an obligation to protect you from Vikings. And my favorite one, because I like to trade, a 30-year fixed mortgage is basically a long-dated call option on inflation. You borrow dollars today, lock in the rate, and repay in nominal terms. If inflation explodes, your debt evaporates in real terms while your house price soars. You're long the house, short the dollar. I'm about to ponder on that one for a little bit. Okay, so here's my hot take on the 50-year mortgage. We don't have any details. So I get it. Like, people are kind of running with it both ways. I don't know how much of it would be used. I don't know what it's going to look like. people aren't talking about how this instrument will be even worked. Maybe this is a negotiation, the art of the deal. Start with 50, work our way back to 40, which is something already in play. Is it a 50-year amortization, but due in 30 years? There's a lot of commercial loans that amortize over 30, but are due in 10. What kind of mortgage-backed security in the universal MBS, cap market structure would this fit into? Do you have to create a whole new product? Do you have to go to SIFMA and start working on that? Maybe it's just a 40 due in 30, right? 40-year AM due in 30, 50-year due in 30. I don't really know. I don't know how the cap markets is going to swallow this. I don't know. But I tell you what I do know is that if you rent for 50 years, you are paying 100% interest. So there's that. And if you own a property, you do gain in wealth and appreciation. So once the details come out, I am looking to the MBS Highway team, founded by Barry Habib, who is on the board for Fannie Mae. I can't wait for him to plug in all those numbers and show rent versus buying, the cost of waiting, included with a 50-year mortgage option or whatever it ends up being. So I'm just going to reserve judgment. Just like I'm reserving judgment on Mamdani, who's apparently a socialist, a Marxist, a democratic socialist, and all these things that no one really knows. I don't know. He got elected. He said what it took. It worked out. So let's see what happens with all this stuff. And let's just calm down a little bit. Let's calm down. Okay. Government shutdown update. Now, I wrote something in my notes last week before this was somewhat resolved. I know the Senate passed 60-40. Remember, this required 60 votes in the Senate, and the Republican Party did not have 60 votes. So this was a leverage point for the Democratic Party, and they took their shot, and they are going to get something out of this for their constituency. And of course, it helped them leverage the bad press to work out some wins in some elections last Tuesday. So don't forget, there's like a political game going on here too. Of course, us little people, we all suffer. So, and we all suffer in different ways. Being fully transparent there. But what I wrote last week was shutdown continues, flights are delayed, food programs are in trouble, and federal workers aren't being paid. Both sides believe they have the strategic advantage, but the pain caused by the shutdown appears to grow by the day. So don't know what the House will do. It's yet to be taken to the floor as a vote. I'm sure they'll ramrod it through here quickly. But basically the details are they kind of break up. They're supposed to just pass a continuing resolution like they always do for years and years and just move it along. But now they're going to break it up into like little mini buses, little different continuing resolution packages. Maybe pay the troops first and work on this thing and that thing. We had a great call with the NBA this morning. If you're not an NBA member, you've got to jump on them. It's every Monday. It's fantastic. And then today was the monthly Independent Mortgage Banker Network call, which yours truly is the chair for the committee. And it was cool to talk. Sam Chazanow from Movement Mortgage talking about condos, but Pete Mills and the great NBA team, they really went into the details that it's breaking news that we're all learning. USDA, that's supposedly in the first minibus bill, so we should start to get some relief there with USDA loans. And by the way, shout out to Click and Close. I read that they were giving free lock extensions on USDA loans. It's really, there's a lot of great companies out there doing some good work, and I love to highlight that, even if they're competitors. So what? Abundance mindset, plenty of business. It's okay for a competitor to be doing well. There's plenty of room and space for us to navigate and do well. And by the way, the landscape changes all the time, especially with AI. There you go. Took me 8 minutes to say AI, although I did bring up Sam Altman. Okay, so government shutdown should be coming. Flood insurance should be back in line for all of our coastal cities. That's been a real big problem. But let's talk about two ends of the labor spectrum. Let's talk about retirees first, and then we'll get into labor data that we've been keying in on. I mean, no one's heard of Revelio until last week. Now everyone talks about it because we don't have BLS data. But let's talk about retirees first. Social Security is on track to be insolvent within a decade. Social Security is on track to be insolvent within 10 years, okay? So in practical terms, that means unless something changes, like raising the retirement age or doing something, benefits will automatically be cut. So both parties can say, hey, what else? We tried. We didn't try to do anything for years. Will automatically be cut 10 to 25% across the board in 2033. So you can bet it'll get worse from there. So in 1955, 8.6 workers per retiree, and it's about 2.7 today. It's projected to fall just to 2.4 by 2035. Obviously, part of that is people are living longer and being able to retire and living longer in retirement. And there's got to be an adjustment there. I mean, we are living longer, and there are the unemployment rate, the last time I saw the was it the U3 unemployment rate, that was 8.1%. So it was U3, U6, I can't remember. I always confuse it with that German subboat. So we got some work to do. Get it? That joke. Okay, first layoffs soared in October, according to a large outplacement firm. That's Challenger Gray and Christmas, which we always look at their data, but because we don't have BLS data, the data is more important because we have less data. Job cuts increased a massive 183% from September, the highest level for the month of October since 2003. So for 20 years. Labor softening. So kind of something that, the Fed would likely cut another 25 basis points. Might squeeze out one more cut. Next year, all bets are off on cuts, but that's pretty weak. It's been the worst year for layoffs since 2009. So JobSite Indeed reported that full postings fell to the lowest level since February 2021 during the pandemic. Fewer postings suggest less competition for workers. So we get it. So labor's weak, and that's a problem. And by the way, the Revelio report said there was something like loss of 9,000 in non-farm jobs in October. So we'll start to get more data, and then, of course, it'll be false or not as accurate until, of course, the QCEW comes back, but I digress. Anyway, we won't get into all that. So as labor weakens, rates get better, and there's tons of great refinance opportunity. Are you capturing it? Are you deploying new tech or out there hunting for business? I saw an article both in IMF and also on the MBS Highway today. ICE reported that home values rose 0.15% in October, which is the largest monthly gain. So it's a acceleration, of course, because we have lower rates. And home prices are up 0.9% year over year. Pretty low for the year, but the year's not over. They also reported optimism on refinances. If rates drop by 0.25%, quarter in rate, they estimate there'll be 1.7 million eligible refinances with their criteria 720 FICO, 80 LTV, and a 75 basis point in rate savings. Some people are using 50, so the number could be even higher. If rates drop 40 bips, you get close to 6%, to 2.7 million. And another way I read that is that ICE said that 4.1 million mortgage holders were in the money for refinancing in late October. 4.1 million. That's a lot of bars, a lot of money to go get. Anyway, could get to 5 million if the rates got to 6.125. So the opportunity is still there. But what do Treasury yields have to do? Well, they've been hovering on that 409 level. Shout out to Bill Bodnor on the 409, the Windex competitor cleaner there. Maybe we go to 418, like Quinona says on the TMS Spotlight. But we've been in this range. It's not 420, it's not 440, not 460, not 40. It's not 5%. So we've been pegging down. The trend is your friend. So I don't know what will change that, but lower rates, maybe as low as 380, are still on the cards, depending on labor and depending on if the Fed continues to cut and brings down the curve. So Treasuries could get tested this week on yield, however, because there's a huge Treasury auction. So if more supply of Treasuries gets put on the market for institutional traders to buy, they got to eat that. They may demand a higher price if they're forced to take on more. 58 billion in threes today, 42 billion on 10s on Wednesday, and 25 billion on 30 years on Thursday. 40 billion in U.S. high-grade bonds are expected as well. So we shall see. So let me give you a couple little tidbits here. Just got 2 minutes left. In Orange County, where I live, Newport Beach, fentanyl deaths dropped 34% as law enforcement pushes against a crisis. It is absolutely a crisis. I know people, you know people, we all know people who have been impacted by fentanyl. It is a severe tragedy. And so something's working for deaths to drop that much. And I know that is a trend. So thank God for that. Some good news. $1 trillion package for Elon Musk. Remember in 2018 or 17, he got some crazy package and he hit it by 2021. I am not betting on this moonshot package for a guy that's trying to go to Mars. So here's the package. 20 million vehicle deliveries for Tesla, which they've already delivered like 8 million. 10 million full self-driving subscriptions. I've got one. 1 million bots delivered and 1 million robo-taxis in operation. They got 10 years to do it. That's 50 billion and 400 billion in annual adjusted profit. So last quarter, it was 4.2. They got 10 years to do it. Can you do it? I think you can do it. If he wins, shareholders win bigger. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not responsible for your losses, only your profits. I'm not saying go long 10 years on Tesla, but man, they are doing some great stuff. Earnings season's still out. NVIDIA reports next week, I believe. And that's kind of like the grand finale of earnings season. So this flow of money that's going on with new BLS data, the government shutdown hopefully ending, and with stocks reporting record earnings, going into continuing in a rate cutting cycle where there's been tons of refinance opportunities. A lot going on. Have a good one. Cheers.
Hey, it's KP coming to you live from Manhattan, Radio City Music Hall in the background. Just leaving the IMN MSR conference. That's mortgage servicing rights. Remember, we buy and sell money. The secondary market is cold, heartless, and unforgiving. Really interesting to hear about S-curves and MSR valuation and hedging strategies and all the things. And where everyone thinks 2026 is going. I had a panel today with some really smart people. I think they tried to trip me up and ask me some questions, and they almost did. But I made it. I faked it till I make it. Okay, so what's going on? The government shutdown's over. Bill was signed last night. I have a 210 flight out of Newark to Orange County, my last flight of the year. I'm so done traveling. I cannot wait. And hopefully things are okay tomorrow. But flood insurance coming back. Our GUS approvals, USDA stuff should start to get back in line at some point. TSA, air traffic control start to get paid. Let's get this economy back going again. Q4 is typically a strong quarter for job creation and labor, and people start buying things for the holidays, no matter how much they make or don't make. We'll start to get the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports. The September jobs report is likely the first one to come out because it was kind of half collected, but that's stale data. And so October and November may take a little bit of time because, it's just hard to collect all that. The establishment survey is half the jobs report. The other half is the household survey. That one's harder to collect. So we'll get some data. Not sure if it's enough to make the Fed cut another 25 basis points. I am going to a Salt Bay restaurant with a group. The guy that sprinkles the salt, El Nusrat. So I'm invited to a dinner and then going to meet with Abdul Kawami, one of our branch managers in New Jersey. He's driving up here in his badass wrapped Cybertruck. And then I'm going to catch a flight tomorrow. So, all right, government shutdown over. This bus guy's looking at me like I'm crazy. Let's go. Again, always getting hit by cars on the road. I'm looking forward to not getting hit on these videos in the future. There's $37 trillion in public debt. That's our government. And $50 trillion in private debt, right? That's companies. That is coming down. So when private debt numbers come down, equity goes up. That's good for stocks. Not a financial advisor. I'm not responsible for your losses, only your profits. But I will say, the flow of money is issuing. Quantitative tightening ends December 1st, and that matters because, it could be good for mortgage interest rates if the Fed feels like they need to pump the system because there's not enough liquidity in our economy. So the velocity of money does tend to slow down when there's less labor participation, and we know the labor market is troubled right now. So we're going to keep an eye on that with whatever data comes our way. Revelio or, ADP has been like a top tier one. Thank God we've had their data. And so people are more productive and working more, but the participation is going down. So not sure what that offset. But you know what matters? Earnings. Are companies making money? Earnings is good this quarter, and I think will continue to be over, according to FactSet. They're a big data and analytics company. Earnings growth is good here in Q3 earnings season. NVIDIA reports next week. It's kind of like the big granddaddy of them all, the Super Bowl of earnings. And Q1 and Q4, Q1 and Q2 are all going to show growth. So if earnings continues to go, debt doesn't go up, it's pretty good for the stock market. Again, not a financial advisor, not responsible for your losses, only your profits. But that's some big stuff. RIP to the penny. Cost 3.7 cents to make. The last one was minted this week in Philadelphia. So you will no longer see new pennies being made. Nickel, you're on the clock. Costs a lot to make a nickel. And Warren Buffett had a nice thing to say. He's retiring at Berkshire Hathaway, the Oracle of Omaha, one of the greatest investors ever. Said, choose your heroes wisely, emulate them, and pick some things that they do that might make it, give you some little tidbits on how to act. By the way, I just realized I have no idea where I'm going. I'm on 6th Avenue. Make my way around here. I might have walked the wrong way, but whatever. It's beautiful. Look at this. That's that like Louis Vuitton building in the background. So I'm on 6th Avenue and 57th. Totally went the wrong way. Anyway, just hang with your boy here. My last video on the road for a while. I think until December, California NBA has a board retreat in Laguna. So close to home, but I'll do something from there. All right, get ready. Rates are still low. Tell your people. Purchase businesses up in a seasonally slow time of year. I think 20% up year over year. The psyche of the borrower is good. They are watching rates be low for longer. And they're saying, let's go hunt for houses before they go rip it. Bank of America said 29% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. So we're still in a K-shaped economy. Although I heard the broader economy, the other 71%, is like a tree. So you have some branches growing taller than others. Mark Zanny from Moody's does a lot of work with MGIC, by the way. So the top 10% has 50% of the wealth and spending, consumer spending, has 50% of the consumer spending, not the wealth. Their top 10%. And so, some of these branches grow higher and faster than others. And we're still a consumer-driven economy with 4% GDP. We're in a good spot for now. Have a great one. Love this energy. Cheers.
You've been listening to KP Talks Dollars and Cents, a top-rated show for those who want to learn about the economy and mortgage environment. Tune in each week for more episodes, and please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Kevin Perenio does not render or offer to render personalized investment or tax advice through KP Talks Dollars and Cents. The information provided is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, tax, investment, or legal advice. For more info, follow KP Talks Dollars and Cents on all of our social channels.